Good morning, everyone. It's Amanda Golightly from Align Natural Health. And I thought I'd pose this question today. Who out there is tired of sweating during important presentations? Who out there is tired of sweating during even speaking in front of people? Maybe you're at a meeting or just any time where you have to speak to someone if it's a stressful situation. Who has experienced this out there? I know I have, and I know at times I still do. And it can be very embarrassing to deal with if you're trying to, especially if you're in a professional situation where you're trying to convey a certain message, you're giving a presentation at work, you're trying to help someone with your business. And this is where, when something like this is happening, it can really change your focus and kind of take you off course a little bit. So this is just kind of something I wanted to delve into a little bit today, and I'm going to talk about stress as well, because this is partially related to stress as well. So stress is something that affects the majority of people, probably all people out there, whether you know it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not. And there's a few stats I have here in relation to that. About 77%, these are US stats as well. 77% of people regularly suffer from physical symptoms caused by stress. 73 regularly suffer from psychological symptoms caused by stress. And 48 of people report sleepless nights from stress. I'm sure most people can relate to that last one for sure. Like, I've had nights where you're just in bed and your mind's just going over and over something, and it seems to find other things it needs to think about at that time when you should be sleeping, you should be resting. And sleep is important for rest and recovery for our body. This is when we heal. So when stress is getting in the way of that, we need to figure out why, what's the cause of it, and how can you handle that and also support your body. There are a few different kinds of stress. And I think I'm going to go back into that in a second. So for my own personal story, I've had numerous times where, if I think back to one specifically, where I was getting in front of a group of people giving a presentation. And because this is something that I've dealt with on many occasions, you have to be strategic in your approach to this, because this is an important presentation. You know that when this happens, you're going to be dealing with your body. Your body's going to be heating up. You're going to be feeling that energy shift, and pardon me. And when that happens, that you're going to start sweating. And so it's okay. What clothes am I wearing? What kind of clothes is it? Generally, it would be obviously a dark shirt, which I happen to be wearing today. Dark shirt. It's going to be a light kind of fabric. Cotton could be a good one. And in some cases, depending on where it is, I know for myself, this is something that maybe people relate to. It's kind of embarrassing to admit. However, it's been a reality. I didn't know there were specifically underarm liners that are for sweat. I know I've used ones that are like panty liners to help do the same process. And in some cases that worked out very well because it stayed in place. And then other times when those were utilized, they ended up somewhere else in the shirt for whatever reason. So there's at least a little bit of humor after the fact when it came to that, because it's like, well, like it sweats here. It's not like over here or something else, right? It's just kind of like, what the heck's going on here? I'm just trying to get out there and do a presentation and be effective and get everything across that I want to. And just being distracted by this kind of thing can be awful. Stress to a degree is normal, but when it's interfering with what you're trying to do, you need to put in place ways to kind of mitigate that a bit. And maybe it's a deeper issue inside your body that needs support. Maybe it's as simple as deep breathing or visualization exercises, things like that. Maybe even just being hydrated. Oh, for myself, yeah, it's a work in progress. I'm supporting my body. I'm on a protocol. And for me, it's part of it is the adrenals, because this is where our stress hormones come from, is the adrenals. And if things are not working properly, things are not in balance, this is where things are not working the way we want them to. So that's kind of a bit about my personal story, and I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate. And if you are open to it, please comment. I'd love to hear your stories as well and what you're going through. So there are 3 types of stress out there that we can deal with. There's physical, chemical, and emotional or mental stress. So the physical can be, and this is one I have personally done, I'm sure there are people out there who have done this as well. The simplest thing, as maybe you're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, you're reading, whatever, and you fall asleep on the couch. I was speaking to someone, I think it was yesterday, and talking about, you get sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, and next thing you know, your head's bobbing back and you're hitting the couch and you're just falling asleep. And then when you actually get yourself to bed, you can't sleep. You're just wired. And this is something that can come up adrenals specifically, when they're not functioning the way they need to. Physical stress can include car accidents and injuries. If you're not getting enough sleep, that's quite the stress on our system. As I said, if you're not able to rest and recover, that's going to lead to other issues. If your body can't heal, that's when things can come up as well. Not enough food, something as simple as that, something that we don't think about. If you're not fueling your body for what it needs, especially if you are physically active, if you're working out a lot, maybe your job has a higher demand physically that you need to be fueling your body for what it needs. And if you're not, then this is where a higher stress can come into play. Repetitive movements. So if you're doing, maybe you're at a desk and you've got a computer and you're doing repetitive movements, even texting a lot if you're on your phone. If you're someone has a physical job, perhaps you're in the trades, or even someone like in dentistry, if you're doing the same kind of movements for cleaning someone's teeth, this can all have an impact on your body and how it's affected. Chemical things. So these are things in our environment, like what's in our air, cleaning chemicals, could be in hand sanitizers, food, artificial dyes. There's lots of colors in there. There's sweeteners, hair dyes is another, lawn pesticides, even chemtrails. These are all things that can impact our body. And there's a layered effect, because there are so many things in our environments that we have to deal with, and they accumulate. What's in your water, what's in the food that you're eating, how are you handling your day-to-day with the stress? These are all layers that add up, and there can be a barrel effect, meaning that when your barrel is full, things spill over and then problems begin to happen. Emotional, mental. So these can be things related to, maybe it's related to work, your business. It could be related to if you have kids, financial stress. There's a lot of things going on with like inflation right now, and interest rates being changed and going up. And this can add to people's stress levels. World events the last few years was something that we probably don't even want to get into too much, but all these things play a role as far as how we are affected. And and it's important to acknowledge it and figure out how we can handle that. And what does stress do to our bodies? When we are dealing with stress, this is where we deplete our B vitamins and minerals. This can lead to brain fog, difficulty thinking, fatigue, exhaustion. It decreases our immune system as well. So this can affect the adrenals, as I've mentioned those. Also the thyroid and the heart. It's kind of a domino effect, if you will. First, the adrenals get hit, then it goes to your thyroid, and then impacts your heart. So some things I have dealt with personally myself, with adrenals having issues, who has stood up too quickly, if you will, and has felt dizzy or lightheaded. Like, I know for me, it's happened many times and still does happen. If I lean down and I'm working on something and I get up, this is where I just kind of have to grab something nearby and just take a second to allow things to normalize and normalize. And that's not a normal thing to happen. You shouldn't have to worry about getting up too fast. There is no too fast when you get up, when you stand up. That's a sign that something's not working the way it needs to. And this is actually an interesting point. Low back pain. The adrenals can cause low back pain. So if you've been dealing with low back pain and maybe you're going to the chiropractor often to support that and make that help that problem go away, and it's just not resolving, it could actually be an adrenal issue. And I've had this myself where it is quite painful, which is having that awareness of that it could be actually adrenals is very interesting to note. So just if that's something that you're having and it's a constant issue and it's not being resolved, it may not actually be your back. Just something to keep in mind. Adrenals, low blood pressure, if you're overtired, tired and wired, as I said, if you're falling asleep on the couch and then you actually get up to go to bed and you can't get to sleep, this tired and wired thing is very frustrating. Very frustrating. And that's where it could be tied to your adrenals. From there, we go to the thyroid. So when the thyroid is being leaned on, it could lead to this issue with gaining weight, losing weight, hair loss. I know a lot of women have dealt with a lot of hair loss. You could be pulling out clumps if you're in the shower after you've washed your hair. You could have a puffy face, arms, legs, hands, all these things. PMS issues, premenstrual syndrome, hot flashes, low libido, and even fertility problems. And from there, as I said, the domino will fall to your heart. So if you're having all of these issues, plus having issues on your heart now, because we've now come to lean on your heart for support, you could be dealing with heart racing, palpitations, irregular rhythms, and more fatigue, fainting. I know I've dealt with that in the past. It seems to be, I've hit on one of these things in each category. Fainting is a big thing. And then as the ultimate thing, if it's really, really severe, there could be the possibility of death. Fainting is an interesting one. I know when I was younger, I went to see I don't know if it was can't remember if it was a play. There was something where I was in the theater and it was a hot summer day. And this was not the only occurrence for me because it seemed to be a theme way back when, not so much now with this. But I had to actually leave the theater because I was just so overheated. And as I was leaving the theater and walking down the hall, next thing is I just hit the floor and out. And it's not a normal thing. But not a normal thing. So other stress related symptoms that you could be experiencing. You could have headaches, muscle tension. If you think about it, even right now, if I just kind of reposition myself, where are your shoulders sitting? Where are they sitting? Do you find that you're tensing? Are you tensing during your day? I know sometimes I have to remind myself and just think, okay, where are your shoulders? Because it's so easy just to kind of be tensed all the time and you don't even realize it. And that's adding to the headache issue that you may be experiencing. So just think about that if you're dealing with headaches. You could have upset stomach, changes in your appetite. I know different variations of stress in my life. Sometimes you don't eat for hours, days, whatever it is. And then other times there could be maybe you're emotional eating just because you're bored or other things are going on in your life, whatever it is. You could be more irritable and angry. If you're under pressure with work or something personal, all it takes sometimes is that one little thing and you just respond in an angry way or something where you wouldn't normally do that. So ways we can reduce stress. Simple as just going for a walk, getting outside, getting fresh air. If you have a favorite place you'd like to go do that, maybe it's just around the block in your neighborhood. Maybe there's more of a nature-related place you can go, a trail or something like that. Get outside. Get outside somewhere where you can take off your shoes and plant your feet on the ground so you can ground yourself. Connect with Earth's energy. Because there's a lot of we've got all these shoes on our feet and they're disconnecting us from the earth, and the earth's energy is and frequency is where we are at our most calm. And just when you're doing that, take some deep breaths and just imagine that energy going up your feet and into your body, and just connect with that and be present in that moment and just find some calm. Stop watching the news. This is something I stopped doing a long time ago, any of the mainstream stuff, because it's all kind of negative and downer stuff. So it's something I want to avoid. And kind of as I alluded to with the putting your feet in the ground and visualizing, you can do meditation. You can cook a healthy meal, do something whole foods, as least processed things as possible. Read something positive and inspirational. And I'm specific with that because there's, again, even in book world, there's a lot of things that could have negative stories, or maybe there's heavier content. Go into something that's more inspirational for you, that can lift you up and inspire you. Being creative, you can paint, play music. Like I play guitar every now and then. That's something that you can do. Write, even as simple as writing in a journal for yourself. Just putting your thoughts down. If there's something, especially if you're finding your responses are not what you want to be, maybe you are more irritable or responding in an angry way, write those things down. Get them out of your body. Don't hold on to that stuff. I know how easy it is to just kind of stuff things down, and eventually that's going to come back in some way. Either maybe you will be responding in a way that you don't want to, or maybe after stuffing those things down for a long time, it's going to manifest itself in your body somehow. It's something important to consider. If there's no one around that you feel that you can tell these things to, at least put it out in a journal and get it out of your body. Creativity is great for the sacral chakra. Cool. Yes. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Gardening. Gardening's a big one. It has been a big one for me for the last, definitely this year, connecting more, just kind of going outside and looking at the flowers and the plants that are out there. And definitely I've been doing it barefoot. So it's nice to connect with the ground, and also just kind of I talk to the plants. I like to connect with them and just tell them how awesome they're looking, and just connecting with the colors and being outside. I think it's really neat to just see the progression of them. We actually have a tree outside that was not a tree initially. It was actually supposed to be an antenna, an electroculture antenna, where it was supposed to harness the energies in the air and bring it back into the soil and help other plants grow. And then Marv, that's right. And then all of a sudden we started seeing growths coming out of this antenna that was supposed to be a stick, and then it started growing. So now Marv has been moved to his own plant, or potter rather, so he can grow, and eventually, I'm not sure where Marv will end up in the future. We'll plant him somewhere. We'll figure that out as we go. Anyway, side story, that's my connection, is gardening. That's kind of the big one for me, I think, when it comes to reducing stress. And I know Allison out there, who is another colleague of mine, she was mentioning that on her Instagram today. So it's just something that's so simple and so easy to do. Some people like to dance. You could play with your pets, your kids, play a sport, get out there, play soccer, baseball, whatever it is to get yourself outside. Time for self, that can go with the journaling that I mentioned, if that works for you. Even if it's you hide yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and do some deep breathing, something as simple as that. Some people like to do hypnosis. This is a really good way to kind of visualize and put in those positive suggestions for yourself. Like, stress is such a crucial thing. It's something we're going to deal with every day in some way. But sometimes we need stress to motivate us to do something we need to do, to motivate us to, I don't know, maybe that's just to get out of our own head, to do something to help someone else. Yeah. And when things are not working the way they need to be, like I'm mentioning sweating while doing a presentation, like it's even happening a bit right now, if I'm being honest. And it's finding out what's the deeper cause? I know I mentioned the strategies that I use that in some ways seem a little humorous and a little funny, but if you're really struggling with these things, if you're, especially as a professional person, professional woman, man, whatever, if you're out there at your job, your business, and you're trying to put a certain message out there for your clients, and you're being distracted by what your body's doing, you're sweating like crazy. It's very distracting. It's very distracting, and it can put you off your game if it's something very excessive. As I said, the strategy is using lighter clothing, darker clothing, practicing deep breathing exercises, things like this. Even if it came to underarm liners, but these are only Band-Aid approaches. Hey, Nadia, how you doing? These are only Band-Aid approaches. They are not addressing the cause. It could be the simplest thing as drinking water as well. Drinking enough water, getting minerals into your system. Sea salt, Himalayan salt, maybe it's something like CT minerals from Cellcore. But what's the real cause of why your body's responding that way? Are you in fight or flight all the time? There's any extra stress is causing wear and tear on your adrenals, and this is where that ties in. And then, as I said, if your adrenals are taxed, they're going to lean on your thyroid, and then your thyroid is going to have issues and cause more of those symptoms that I'd already mentioned, and then to your heart. And this is something where we want to address the cause. We want to find out what's going on, and is the cause actually stress, or is it something else going on in the body? And this is where quantum nutrition testing is an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool to get to the root of the cause. And it's so neat that it can actually be considered a preventative as well, because we can pick up things at a lower percentage versus blood work or other tests. And when that happens, maybe you don't have symptoms yet, because, as I said, this can be used as a preventative method. So there's just something to think of. If you're dealing with any of these symptoms that I mentioned, where maybe you're standing up too quickly and you get dizzy, you're having any of these PMS symptoms, hot flashes, sweating at night, sweating and actually being woken up at night. Like, it's pretty awful to wake up and maybe your hair is kind of damp and your sheets are wet. It's very annoying, and it interferes with your sleep and your rest and recovery. So if you're dealing with any of these things and you want help with that, please reach out to me, send me a message. Let's start talking about it. There's actually a blog that I wrote. I think it's going to be posted soon. I'm not sure when, but anytime there'll be a blog kind of posted about this and kind of a bit of my own personal story. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this valuable. And if you think it would help anybody that you know, please share it with them. I appreciate that. Ripping the covers off in the middle of the night. Yeah. That's how bad it is, because the blog is up. Perfect. Okay. So the blog is up. If you want to check that out, head over to our website, alignnaturalhealth.com. And once again, thanks for watching, and have a great day, everybody. Live well naturally.